Welcome to SportsbookReview.com. This is March into Madness. I'm Flash, and I'm joined by Donnie and Max, the gurus of NCAA. Funny night last night. We had a poker tournament. Thank you to every single person that joined us and every single person that watched. Next time, make sure you register and you enjoy it as well. Donnie, you thought you'd be first out. You wasn't.
No, I actually circled it 120th place, so I was moving my way on up. And for the first time in Sportsbook Review Poker Tournament history, Flash, I won a hand. You know what, Flash? I actually won 2 hands last night. You never know. By about 20, 25, 20, 30, Flash, I might be in the top 10 in one of these bad boys.
Only if there's 11 entries, I guess. Max, how was your night?
My night was good from a unit perspective, but there were some losses that I'm still sore about today. There was a personal play that they gave out to a couple guys that UIC first half team total. That was just an absolute freaking bewildering freaking experience watching that first half. And then St. Francis, Pennsylvania letting me down heavily in the championship game against Robert Morris. So I'll tip my hat to Donnie, who's on the right side of that. But otherwise, my favorite conference watching last night was the America East, watching Hartford upset Stony Brook, watching UMBC taking Vermont and really pushing that freaking game and forcing them to make shots when it counted. This is what I love in March, conference basketball, mid-major, low-major basketball, where I feel that there's just a more even playing ground, and we're seeing the results prove that, especially last night.
Donnie, we said about UNC, it's a must-win game for them, and boy did they do it. 78-56, jog on, Virginia Tech.
Yeah, home court advantage, a healthy UNC team, and the only way they get in the March Madness, obviously, is winning the conference tournament. Again, I still don't think they're going to win it, but they're going to get some points in their game again today with Syracuse. And I also want to say one thing, Flash. In the United States here, we see some of the conference tournaments here shutting down. The Ivy League canceling their tournament, also the Mid-American Conference saying no fans are allowed. For this show alone, we actually quarantined an entire conference in the Pac-12. This is a Pac-12 free zone today, baby.
Yeah, listen, what about NKU? And we said yesterday again, we came out and give everyone the right information. It's up to you what decisions you make. But NKU, 71-62, nice 9-point, and it was a cruise, Max.
Listen, I was on the wrong side of that in the first half. I had UIC first half money line, but hitting the over was definitely a nice spot. Really came down to UIC trying to push the issue at the end, Northern Kentucky being able to answer at every opportunity. When you're getting a trio of 20-point or close to that performances from Sharp, Jalen Tate, and Dantes Walton, I think that this Northern Kentucky team definitely did what they had to do, earned their spot into March Madness. And while I don't think that they're a team that I would classify in the same category as East Tennessee State, I definitely think that if you're seeing double digits on them, anywhere between 11 to 14 points, this is a team that definitely is going to have value in the tournament.
Okay, we've got 25 games to go. I'm just going to go over a couple of others. Hofstra. We said that they'd get the job done. The only time that they weren't really leading was at the half that we needed them, just giving up half a point. And the Zags beat St. Mary's. No surprise when St. Mary's boys were seen on the Razzle-Don.
No, the Gonzaga, look, that's what we said yesterday, right? Partying, popping bottles on the Vegas Strip. They already knew that they were in the tournament, and it was no surprise they came out. And, when you show up, you feel good in that first half, Flash. And then in the second half, that Gonzaga team is so deep, so strong, and so powerful. They just put them to sleep. But, hey, you wake up with your hands held high and your head ready to go because St. Mary's, they're going to the tournament. Didn't matter if them winning yesterday. Gonzaga's playing for bigger things, like a number 1 seed. It was an easy call to take Gonzaga yesterday.
Okay, here we go. 25 games. We're going to start with Miami versus Clemson, and Miami getting 3, Max. And remember, if you can let everyone know, if it's neutral or if it's home court.
Yeah, this is obviously neutral. It's being played at Greensboro Coliseum. This is a spot where it's really hard to take Clemson in this spot. They've been really sputtering as of late. Games that they could have won and should have won against Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech, dropping those, and basically having just a very deflating performance after that very close call against Florida State. When I look at Amir Sims and I look at Tevin Mack and Johnny Newman, these guys don't really pop off the sheet saying, well, this is the team that I have to have faith in a first-round matchup. I think that it's definitely going to come down to who plays better defense, and I think that's where Miami's going to have the advantage. Miami's been able to lock down the perimeter and specifically lock down the three-point line against pretty much every team in the conference averages at least 20 attempts. They're locking them down to the 30% range. I think that when it comes to Miami's offense, you have to do a better job of getting to the free throw line. You have to do a better job of avoiding scoring droughts, and that means not settling for shots on the three-point line. Take it in, drive to the bucket, use the extra lane with that the NCAA gave you this year, and get to the free throw line where you have the advantage. This is a team that can hold their own on the glass. They do a good job of taking care of the basketball. If you can keep it under 12 turnovers a game against this Clemson defense, you're going to be in it all the way to the end. So I got to look at Miami in this spot, and I got to shout out Illwise, who is on Miami plus 3.5, and it is his play of the day. So always liking to be on the same side as that smart and season capper.
And degenerate is the word you were looking for. And listen, anyone else in the chat?
I didn't want to use it, but yes.
145 people watching already. That is to be saluted. But give us your player today. Give us all of your knowledge as well. We stick it into the blender. And I tell you what, it comes out like a tasty smoothie, Donnie.
Yeah, it certainly does. And take a look at this game here, Miami of Florida and Clemson. Buyer beware in this game, and not for either side for this team, but what you're actually going to get from the atmosphere. You're talking about, look, when we have the North Carolinas, and the Dukes play in Greensboro, it's going to be packed. It's going to be jumping. There's a lot of excitement. But there is a reason why the ACC schedules teams like Miami and Clemson to play at noon during a work week in the coronavirus sitting there in North Carolina. There probably is going to be more than 3,000 or 4,000 people in that building, completely sterile environment. It tips off at 12 o'clock. Two teams that are going to slow it down. Miami, obviously, without Chris Likes, so they have nobody to push the basketball. This is going to be a grimy basketball game from the jump. The only way I can look at this game instead of a side is probably an under on the basketball game because, again, this is going to be as dead as an environment as you're going to get for a major conference tournament game.
What sort of total are we looking at, do you think, Donnie?
It looks like we had it at one. Let me pull it up officially here for us. I had it right around that low 130, 132. It looks like across the board, 131.5 in that range.
Okay, let's kick on. Remember, we've got 25 games to go through, so now we've got to go. St. Joseph's getting 4.5 against George Mason. George Mason, they've paid us a few times, Donnie.
Yeah, this is another tough one. Again, we're calling that same type of situation that you're going to look at when you're playing at the Barclays Center. Okay. Well, St. Joe's barely gets people in their own building in Hagan Arena, and George Mason certainly not anywhere near Brooklyn, New York. So who's traveling up again in this environment where everybody's sick in New York City? It's going to be another dead environment. I know St. Joseph's wants to push the basketball. George Mason doesn't. I can only lean once again here, Flash, on an under. I don't like either team, and I can see it as a coin flip type game, but you're talking about ultra sterile environments with a few thousand, maybe people in an arena, Flash. That fits about 20,000.
Max, how you liking the total with George Mason?
Yeah, I agree with Donnie on the under. I like the first half under also. These are two teams that struggle to get to 30 points in a first half combined. It's really going to be a question of how the first 4 minutes turn out and what kind of offensive start you get from George Mason coming off such a poor shooting performance from an overall team perspective. I expect them to handle their business and take care of St. Joseph's, similar to the way that they've done already twice this year. This is a game where I think that AJ Hartwell and AJ Wilson's going to have the biggest advantage being the best down low player. Versus St. Joe's, I don't see anybody except Ryan Daly being able to manufacture their own offense. And if you can shut Ryan Daly down, you shut St. Joe's down for the most part. This is a spot where I think that on a neutral court, we've seen George Mason cash tickets for us, and I expect for them to do so again this afternoon.
What sort of total are we looking at on the under, please, Max? And first half under.
Yeah, we're looking at somewhere, I think, between 67 and 69 on the first half under. I have to actually pull that up just to double check
67
that.
and a half right now.
67, 60, yeah, 67, 67 and a half.
And full game?
Yeah,
143 to 144, it looks like.
That's generous. Like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's crack
So
on.
with two teams that struggle to get to 30, you're going to have value, you would say, by that number.
Yeah, I mean, if they struggle to get to 30, you're going to be looking at maybe 129, 131. Gives you a 13-point middle. As you know, I love the middles. Let's go. Pittsburgh, +4 against NC State, Max.
Yeah, I'm already on this. This was a play that I was able to hit on the opener. I have a different number, so I'm just actually pass it off to Donnie and let him break it down.
Donnie, break it down.
Yeah, look, one of those games that your conference tournament, and you hear me say this repeatedly when you start off, you have one team that played well yesterday, knocking off Wake Forest. They've already been on the court. They've already had the shoot around. They've been to the arena. They sat in the locker rooms, and they won a game on this home court. But again, you're talking about a team in Pittsburgh that's going down to North Carolina. Hey, by the way, Flash, do you know who they're playing? A team from North Carolina with a fan base. This is like a home game for NC State. Do I want to jump in and say, well, you know what? Do I trust NC State enough? They're the more powerful team. I think we can agree. But I do like the fact that Pittsburgh did play yesterday. I'll still buck that trend because I think NC State's the better team, and they're going to have a 20-1 advantage in fans. I'll go with them.
Yeah, and also, one swallow don't make a summer. We were dogging Pittsburgh less than 3 days ago. All of a sudden, we can't start jumping on them. So for me, NC State, just giving up the 4, I'm happy. I think that they get the job done. Now, Fordham, just a 2.5 they're getting against George Washington, Donnie.
Yeah, Fordham, one of those fun teams that I do like to bust on and crack on. But hey, look, you're going to play this game in New York City, and your team is from New York City. This is going to be a real slow-down game. But again, what type of actual advantage are you getting if you're taking a look at it being a total backer? I mean, the game is lined at 121. It's actually up at Chris Offshore. It opened up at 118. Pinnacle opened up at 122, so not a lot of movement from that book. But you're looking at a line that opened up at -3 at 2.5. I got to be honest. I think Fordham stinks at basketball. But this game is going to be really close. They're playing in New York City, so obviously I'm going to lean towards Fordham in this spot. Ertan Ghazi came back, and again, he's not a great basketball player, the transfer in from DePaul, but he gives you something that they didn't have all year long, a kid that can pull up from three-point range 6 to 7 times a game and make at least 3 of them. That's an added advantage. They're going to be a quote-unquote semi-home game in this one, and I don't trust either team in the favored role. I'll take Fordham in this spot. Give me the 3.
Okay, you take Fordham. What about the 122 being generous, Max?
Well, listen, with the way that George Washington's been playing defense, anybody, including Fordham, is going to be able to score and put up points against them. The fact is, George Washington just has not been able to solve this Fordham puzzle. And then you throw in another weapon like Ghazi in there. Listen, Fordham's not impressive, but from a value perspective, the number, you have to look at Fordham in this spot, as hard as that may be. And from a total perspective, I got to look at the over with the way that George Washington's playing defense. If Fordham can get to 60 and George Washington's been allowing their opponents to score 70 on average, well, we know where this number's going.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Northwestern getting 8 against Minnesota. We're starting to look at the bigger numbers, Max.
Yeah, this is just a spot where I look at the Minnesota under in this spot. I look at Minnesota full game. If they can't go in and smash these guys in the mouth and win by double digits, then I'm literally going to find a way to take my model and punch it in the face.
Okay, nice. Nice to see you've got up in a nice cheery mood, and we know who to blame, and we won't even mention that team again. Donnie, Minnesota, giving up 8, and Max is just happy to ride it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too strong for me. Open up at 8.5. Now we're seeing some 8s across the board. I do agree with it. But again, I know it's a new season and you're playing in a neutral court environment, but sometimes when you're looking at those type of teams, you have to bring a little bit to the table. So we're looking at a 14-team conference, Flash, and you look at Northwestern in conference play, 13th in offensive efficiency on offense, and the same thing on defense. Bring something to the table for me, because I can't just lean on, well, Minnesota's going to miss shots and Northwestern's won 2 out of 3 games. Northwestern isn't a very good team, and you're also going to look at extending the line at the end of the game if you are fouling, because they're not going anywhere unless they win the tournament. It's still a little bit too much for me to put up. I'll lean on Northwestern in this one, but boy, it's a tough one to swallow when you don't bring anything to the table like Northwestern.
No, that's fair enough. And Florida Atlantic getting 2.5, Donnie, against Old Dominion.
Yeah, FAU are going to play a little bit of tempo. And again, that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble sometimes in these conference tournament games, because when you're looking and saying, hey, you know what? This team likes to rely on the three-point shot. They're going against a team that we know wants to slow it down. So what do you lean on if you shoot volume from three-point range and it doesn't go down? You say, all right, well, let's see if we can duck in and get some points down low. Number 2 in the conference, playing inside the arc on defense, is Old Dominion. Boy, it's a tough one, because I'm looking at both. I would like to see both of these teams on the court here before I make a play. I'll abstain and say no wager in this one, but slight lean towards FAU.
Max, Old Dominion giving up the 2.5 against FAU.
Listen, with Jalen Ingram playing like Jalen Ingram of last year, this is an FAU team that can literally take over in a tournament setting. The question is what you're gonna get out of the Monarchs guards. I think that you do have some talent there that is plain as day to see with Xavier Green, Malik Curry, and AJ Oliver, but it's just this is an inconsistent shooting team. I think that from a defensive perspective, if they can't keep FAU under 65 points, they're not winning this game. So from my perspective, this is a wait-and-see type of spot, but I would actually lean to the over.
Okay, you're just a lean on the over there. Okay, let's move on. Let's get some more paperwork out. And it's St. John's, -3 going into Georgetown. And on the face of it, -3 seems a bit of a gift, Max.
Yeah, this is actually a complete pass for me. Once I know what the status of your 7 and Mac McClung is, then I'll make a pick and play, and I'll pass it off to Donnie.
Okay, Donnie, St. John's giving up the 3 against Georgetown.
Yeah, I mean, Max is on point there, because obviously with McClung and Yurtseven, you do want to know where their factor is, but also keep in mind this is a conference tournament game, Flash, technically not listed as a home game, but this is St. John's home arena. When they play their big games, like Villanova plays at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, same thing with St. John's, Madison Square Garden. Been there, done that. I would lean on the home team in this environment, and I guess I would lean a little bit harder once I know if Max McClung is going to play or Yurtseven's going to play, but also keep in mind, like, just because those guys are going to play, they haven't played in a while. They're banged up and injured. So maybe, hey, they're ready to go and they're not in the starting lineup and they play like 5 minutes and they're insignificant impact in the basketball game. I'll go, not knowing any of those factors right now, which is hard to do, I'm still going to go with St. John's. Home team, I think they'd be able to get it done. And even if McClung and Yurtseven play, how effective are they actually going to be anyway? Okay,
and what about Georgia? Getting 3.5 against Ole Miss, and we'll kick off with you, Donnie.
Yeah, Georgia, one of those teams, look, you got one of those guys that's going to be either number 1 or number 2 overall draft pick. So what are they really playing for outside of, hey, we're going to get a couple games in here. Does anybody think Georgia's going to make a run to the SEC championship game? Certainly, Flash. I know you're hot and heavy for LSU, but this game brings a couple instances. It's whether or not Mississippi's guards come to play. And if you ever watch Mississippi play, right, they're going to play a little bit of defense. But if Breon Tyree and Devontae Shuler play, and I mean play really well, they should be able to win this game. But time and time again, I've been watching a lot of SEC basketball. It's those 2 guards on an island, and you just pray that somebody else gives you something. I can't lean on that heading into an SEC title game or SEC conference play. There's more options from Georgia. I think Georgia will push the pace in this one. I'll take Georgia here. But again, that's a factor on if Tyree comes to play. Like, this is my last go-around. I need to drop 40, which I think he does need to. Other than that, I'm going to take Georgia in this one.
Taking the points, Max, because we can't trust Ole Miss of all 5 of them turning up.
I just can't trust Ole Miss to get to 70 points on the road.
Yeah.
That's the plain and simple truth. What have they done? They've floundered. This is a spot where I think that you have to look at the dog. You have to look at the game-breaking score. You have to look at the stage. Anthony Edwards is a guy that can take over the game if the shot drops early. And with Breon Tyree, listen, he has great numbers in conference, but I think that this is a team in Georgia that has length and good guards on the perimeter that can stay with Ole Miss and really make shots difficult. And I think that when you look at Georgia, I think that this is a better coached team. I think that Kermit Davis is a great coach in my opinion, but I think that with what is going on with this Georgia team and what they've been able to do with some of their wins this season, I think that this is a spot where they are able to advance and they have value as a +3 underdog.
Okay, Iowa State getting 6.5 going against Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State can cover the 6.5, Max.
with Oklahoma State's point guard back, that really seals it for me. I think that having Thomas Dzingwa coming off the bench and really being relied on to score the basketball, like a Lou Williams of an NBA type, I think that's going to be the key in this game. The fact is, when you don't have Tyrese Halliburton, you're never going to be in the same at the same ranking that you would have been with him. And I think that Prentice Nixon's done an admirable job. I don't know the status of Rasir Bolton. If Rasir Bolton isn't playing, I like Oklahoma State that much more. But this is plain and simply an Oklahoma State spot or pass.
Yeah, I agree totally. Donnie, are you going to be... normally you don't like the 8.5s. Any good now?
Yeah, it's tough on those. Again, neutral court that we're taking a look at, but I do like what Oklahoma State has been doing. Watching their past few games, obviously winners of their last 4 or 5 games, but I did watch that full game versus Texas, and they completely took that Texas team apart. They're getting a lot of really solid guard play, also pushing the tempo. And Max is right when you take a look. Prentice Nixon, shout out Colorado State, the transfer. He's going to be able to go tonight, but Rasir Bolton still listed as questionable with a concussion, a banged-up team. And this is one of those where I think it might come into play where if you like the dog, maybe take them first half. I'm going to flip it on its head. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State in the first half. I don't want to worry about, fouls late and who's going to come back and do this. If Oklahoma State is covering the number at the half, I think they cover full game. Same thing as if you were betting the underdog in this one. Give me Oklahoma State in the first half as opposed to full game. I think they come out smoking. They're playing extremely well. I like them in the first half. And again, if they're covering first half, they'll probably cover full game. If they're down at the half, I doubt they cover that number. So I'll go with that and say, you know what, good first half by Oklahoma State. And that number officially here, let me get that, is 3.5. So give me Oklahoma State up by 5 at the break. I think that's a fair number. I'll take that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Love my first half plays, love my full game plays. And remember, I write everything down every day. I get to read it because obviously Professor Max sets me homework. We've been dogging Iowa State, and now they play against Oklahoma State, and you're only going to give up 3.5 first half. Then I think a few weeks ago that would have been over 5. So I'm more than happy to go with Oklahoma State there. Now, Boston College getting 9 against Notre Dame. Donnie.
Yeah, but the Hamilton brothers, or Hamilton boys, I should say, Jarius and Jared, both going to miss this game along with Nick Popovich, which doesn't leave you that many options with Boston College. And we do know efficiency is what Notre Dame is going to bring to the table on offense. Neutral court, but it is a 7 o'clock game, so at least you're going to get some of those fans that are waiting, and you'll get that arena fill up in the second half because Syracuse and North Carolina is going to play the later game. So this game tips off at 7, 9:30 is that North Carolina game. So you have a little bit of energy in the building. Notre Dame's clearly the better basketball team. Survive and advance in this one. I have a hard time just backing Boston College as it is. I'll go with Notre Dame in this game.
Okay, and you're happy with the -9? Max, Notre Dame giving up 9, is that something that scares you and pushes you towards a total?
I'm not really looking at this game to make a play on the side. I think that plain and simply, this is a spot where I think that Boston College has to score from the three-point line. If the three isn't dropping, then this could get out of hand quite quickly. We've seen these two teams play very close games already this year, and Nick Popovich and the Hamilton brothers were not in the lineup. So I think that it's really a matter of just doing two things well. Getting to the free throw line where they can make free throws, getting good looks at the three-point line, which they've been able to make 10 a game the last 5 games, and you got to just figure out how to limit turnovers, and that starts with Derek Thornton. If Derek Thornton's going to turn the ball over 5 to 7 times in this game, which we may be able to actually count on, that's going to provide a big problem. And with Notre Dame, the question is, for me, is are they going to, when they force a turnover, are they going to drive and take it, go into transition and try and score quickly at the bucket, or are they going to pull it back and run a play or set their half-court offense up? So I have to lean towards the under, and from a side perspective, I'm just looking to do nothing.
Yeah, that's because you can't trust Notre Dame and you wouldn't want to be anywhere near Boston College. Max, Rice are getting 2 against Florida International.
Yeah, this is a spot where I got to look at FIU. I've been definitely an advocate of Rice in certain spots, but in this matchup versus this team with its down low scoring ability, it's just going to be an FIU spot or pass.
Yeah, FIU -2. It's definitely tempting that, Donnie.
Yeah, I think Max is right on this one because when you take a look at this, this is one of the conferences that I love. Rice was a bad basketball team for a long time, got healthy, and now playing much better. But FIU, the way they play, should really be able to attack Rice, even though this game is going to be played in Texas. Rice is from Texas. I don't know how much that's really going to play into it because you're playing at the Star in Frisco, so how many fans are really going to pack it in from Rice? How many fans even go to Rice games on campus as it is? But if we take a look specifically just at what FIU likes to do on offense, they love to shoot the three-point shot. 41% of their shots in conference play come from three-point range. You know who's 12th in conference at letting you shoot three-pointers? That is the Rice defense. And also, they don't defend it all that well, giving up about 34% of their makes. Also, when you take a look at down-low play, inside the arc, the worst team in conference play at defending inside the arc, that is Rice. So we take a look at styles and make fights. Like I say, if you like to shoot about 42% of your shots from three-point range, one team lets you shoot 44%, you're right in your rhythm. When you score down low, 50% of their total points come from inside the arc for FIU. That's almost exactly what Rice gives up. And then if we take a look at the free throw line, if you're a team that depends on getting to the free throw line, which FIU doesn't, Rice doesn't foul that much. It's a really nice matchup for FIU, but it is a neutral court environment. If the three balls are going down, you're going to get pace on both sides. This would be a fun game to watch, and I think this game should be able to get over the total, but I think Max is right here as well. FIU -2, even though I looked at that line and said, that's interesting, where maybe you thought Rice would be a pick-em or maybe a -1. I do think FIU's matchup is much better here versus Rice than vice versa here. So I'll go with Florida International, lay the 2 points.
Yeah, me too. I've already started. I'm happy with that. Now here's a game. Vanderbilt getting 9 against Arkansas. Arkansas very, very strong. But Vanderbilt, if they turn it on, they're a match for anyone. And 9 might be too many, Max.
I think that the way with this, Vanderbilt's come together since Aaron Nesmith has left the lineup, specifically with Max Evans and Scottie Pippen Jr., how they've been able to step up. I think that's been the key to this Vandy team. I think that this is just too many points. I do love Arkansas, the way that they're playing. I love the tempo that they're pushing. We're seeing Mason Jones and Isaiah Joe be a 60-point possible combination on a nightly basis. You throw in a seasoned, experienced point guard in Jimmy Witt with the coach of Greg Musselman. This is an Arkansas team that I like to win the game. I don't know about 9 points. Where I feel that the bigger question is what's going on with this total? We saw it open at 150.5. We're seeing it 146.5. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know, this is a Vanderbilt team that Scottie Pippen Jr. must have made like 14 free throws in their last game. If a team like that is going to score with the clock stopped, well, that's going to aid an over. And this is a game where I had it lined at 152.5. So at 146, it's absolutely an overplay. And I have a hard time figuring out why Arkansas and Vanderbilt are lined this way. I think that this is a short total. I look at the over. Sorry for the rant.
Okay, no, listen, that's great meat on the bone. And I'm going to give you a little bit of meat on the bone as well because I fancy Vanderbilt team total over, Donnie. You normally love them.
But yeah, no, look at the last 2 games that team has played with Vanderbilt. A little bit undermanned, playing good basketball and showing up on the offensive side. When you're trying to take a look at team totals and you're trying to back a team, especially in the underdog role, what do you look for? A guy that when he is right can take over a game. Saban Lee, as much as you see Vanderbilt's record, like, boy, that team stinks. If you watch him play on a day-to-day basis, he is incredible shooting the three, driving to the rack, getting to the free throw line, and extending plays. Again, we're talking about a conference environment where both of these teams are going to have to win a lot of games in order to make March Madness. I mean, obviously, Vanderbilt's going to have to win the tournament outright itself. That lends itself to an over. And, maybe the dropping of, Chris at 150.5 now down to 146.5, maybe just a neutral court environment from that point. But also, Isaiah Joe coming back, being healthy over the past 5 to 6 games, showing the scorer that he is. You should get points in this game. It should be freewheeling, even though you look at the overall tempo of Vanderbilt maybe not being what Arkansas is. But put it this way, if Arkansas runs out to an early lead, Vanderbilt's going to lean on Saban Lee and Pippen just going wild and try to do anything they can to get back in this game and push the tempo. Arkansas's not going to slow it down. So it's up to that. You would actually like to see Arkansas get the lead early and have Vanderbilt come from a chasing mode. Don't really like it on either side. 9 points is a little bit rich in this one. I think Vanderbilt comes to play and can stay inside that number, though, Flash. I do.
Yeah, listen, I love the 146.5 and over, Max. I'm totally with you because I think Vanderbilt, they're around the 75 mark. So it's going to take, nothing for Arkansas to get us over the 150. But I'm very interested in the team total, Vandy over, because I've got them in between 70 and 75. Okay, Kansas State, if you can put that in the chat, Donnie, when you get it, that'd be great. I'll go to Max. Kansas State +2 versus TCU, Max.
Yeah, this is a spot where I'm more interested in the total. What have I seen from Kansas State? Kansas State's going to let you get to 70 points. It's just a matter of what TCU is going to allow defensively. I think that with TCU definitely can allow you to get up and down on them. They do allow penetration to the rim. I find that when I watch them, not from like a stat perspective or anything, just from like watching TCU games, they do try and chase you off the three-point line a lot. I think that with the size of Kansas State's guards, I think that will benefit them. Definitely trying to run some isolation plays, maybe on the baseline, back to the bucket type deal. And I think that with Kansas State's defense, it's just not the same thing, not the same quality of past years. I think that they're just going to be a sieve offensively. I think that TCU is able to put up points, and I think that Kansas State's able to do their part to get this over. This is a short number to me at 126.
Yeah, it looks a skinny number, Donnie, and we love 126. Anything on the team total for Vandy? Donnie, have you muted?
There we go. I got it back. Yeah, Flash in the chat box. Vandy team total listed at 68.5 from Cale Xander Black. Gave you that information.
Yeah, love that. Love that. I would take you on that ride as well, Donnie. Team total Vandy over 68.5. I had between 70 and 75. So we're already in front, and obviously over 146.5. TCU -2 and over 126. Suspiciously low, that, Donnie.
It seems a little bit low. And again, you should get – it's a close game. So what do you factor in as well, Flash? Late in the game, we don't probably think it's going to be a 15-point game. Maybe get that 5 or 6 point game, which you can extend it out. Minute 45 on the clock, both teams start fouling. You get those points to add up where, hey, you might get a 10-point minute or a 12-point minute to push you over the total. I do lean towards the over, and I lean towards the dog in this one. Both of these teams, I think, can do some things that can bother the other team. So if it's a coin flip game for me, I'll lean on the over being a close game, get that extra surge in conference tournament play, and then I'll lean on the points in this one. I really don't have anything all that effective to give a certain side.
Okay, we got to that stage again where we've got to choose one of our favourite children. We've got North Carolina giving up 2.5, going into Syracuse, who have done us many favours, Donnie.
Yeah, I think you're going to get some points in this game overall. And the reason being is North Carolina now finally healthy. Look at their past couple games when their offense is intact with all their starting five. They're putting up numbers. They're pushing pace. And also, this is not your grandmother's Syracuse team that walks the ball up the court and really wants to play slow and beat you like Virginia 54-53. That's not the case anymore. I think both of these teams will score in this game. I think Syracuse will have an advantage from the three-point line. And also, Syracuse is going to be healthy for this game. Elijah Hughes, which sat out the second half versus the Miami Hurricanes due to maybe some concussion-type symptoms. He's been cleared to play, practiced yesterday. He'll be full go in this game. So you got some athletes on the court. You're going to get a little bit of tempo, and you are going to get points in this one. Now, look, some of that movement we opened up. Let me just get the latest line in this one because we had North Carolina open up about a 2-point favorite in this one. So now I'm looking here, and they're sitting at about 3 across the board with an over-under of 148. I think that is a fair number. UNC at home with that home crowd played yesterday and played well. They can use some of that momentum. I actually think North Carolina can beat Syracuse here in this environment and a straight-up number. I think they might be able to win it by 5, but I do feel more confident that you'll get points in this game because I think you get good tempo. Both of these teams should be in the 70s here, which gives you a great shot at that 148, Flash.
Yeah, 148, Max. The only thing that Donnie said that I maybe disagree with, will we get a bit of fatigue in the second half? And if they're up, they might just take their foot off the gas.
I think that the issue with North Carolina is that, like, Brandon Robinson and Christian Keeling are sort of healthy. Christian Keeling definitely did not look that healthy yesterday with his shooting performance. Brandon Robinson did a lot better, but, like, he's, like, a hard foul away from going out of the game. So I'm a little worried about North Carolina from that perspective, but I do think that with their ability to rebound the basketball, with their size, and with predicating their offense of not running everything through Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony, I can't remember. Oh, yeah, it was in the Duke game. You're within 5 points. You need to run a play and get something, a good look at the bucket. What does Cole Anthony do? He decides to take it on himself and fucking hoist up a 3. Like, this kid needs to realize that it's team basketball and that when this team gets everybody involved and it's a balanced scoring output, that's when they win games in their most dominating fashion. He had a 3 for 10 shooting day. They were able to fucking get some performances from other guys. Use your big man in this situation. Garrison Brooks, that's your guy right there. He can put up 25 and 11 against the Syracuse defense. So points are going to get scored. I agree with Donnie. Got to look at North Carolina in this spot. But Cole Anthony has to be, like, reined in. That's for sure.
Okay, well, we want worms. We want plenty worms, and there's so many games. We're going to have 25 games in total. You have to read back all of my notes because I'm starting to have more styles. They're in a clear night sky, Donnie. DePaul getting 4.5 against Xavier.
Yeah, Xavier here. I have it listed now, Flash, at 6.5 across the board. Over under opened up at 134, 134.5. It still looks like it's sitting around that number. And I mean, I don't know. I'm just reading about Paul Scruggs' information the last 3 to 4 days like it's the greatest player of all time. I don't really think that's going to matter all that much whether he plays or doesn't play. I just think it's too many points for Xavier in a neutral court shot here at Madison Square Garden. I'll take DePaul getting the 6.5. Don't have a great feel for the game, but I don't trust Xavier in that spot to win by 10 points.
Okay, DePaul getting the 6.5 now. Was 4.5 earlier, Max.
Yeah, I got a better number, so I'm not going to really talk on this game. All I'll say is that Xavier needs this win because they're on the bubble, and like NC State, this is a must-win game for both of them. So I got a better number on Xavier, but definitely this is a parlay adder.
Would you go with Xavier or Xavier at first half, Max? No, I'm not asking for the pronunciation. I'm just asking if we go first half.
No.
No first half.
I'll give them full game. Only
full. Okay.
I have a lot of respect for what Charlie Moore and Paul Reed can do. Paul Reed is a little hobbled right now, but Jalen Coleman-Lamb's proved me wrong over and over again. When I don't think that he's going to be able to come up with a good shooting performance, he does. I'll give DePaul respect enough to stay in it first half. Okay, so really it's a no play unless you're going to go with Xavier. Full game. Okay, UTEP getting 2 against Marshall. Max. Yeah, this is a spot where simply I love the guard play of Tavion Kinsey and Jared West. They get to the free throw line. Tavion Kinsey has great size, great ball handling skills, great vision, and when the defense allows you to go right up through them, he's going to be able to do that. I think that this is going to be a standout performance for him. I think that he's going to have matchup advantages regardless of who's on him. And I just think that when you look at this UTEP team, they have, I would say, skinny guards like Jordan Lathan that I don't think can stay with Tavion Kinsey. And I think when it comes down to it, if you're a 6'5" guard that can back down most defenders in the low block, I think that you're going to score points easy or you're going to get fouled a bunch. So Marshall or pass for me on this spot. Okay, Marshall or pass. I was just thinking to myself, I need a little coffee machine here, Donnie. Your setup seems to be far better than mine, so I feel like the poor relation. Also, can I just say, 322 people in the chat. Obviously, we've got some newcomers in there, and you're more than welcome, and it's great to have you. Press the subscribe button, ring that bell, and we will notify you on every single show that comes along so you can never miss another show. And then that means worms for dinner, breakfast, and lunch, Donnie.
No, it certainly does, and maybe we'll get some worms here. If I can use one word for this game, it's trust, and I just trust Marshall a little bit more than I do for UTEP, because when you take a look at the offensive side, in the offensive perspective, 14 teams in conference, right, Flash? Marshall, second overall in defensive efficiency versus UTEP's 13th ranked offense. And when you take a look at teams that turn it over a little bit more, Marshall's defense can force some turnovers. But also, when you need buckets, when you got to go out and get buckets, right? It's always not nice to, if you need a comeback where your team is dead last in conference play at making the three-point shot. When you flip it over to Marshall, they're not an unbelievable shooting three on offense, but they work it in. About 40% of their shots come from three-point range. If we're just doing a simple breakdown of this game, I think Marshall overall is more talented. I think I trust Marshall to make more shots. And late in the basketball game, I think they'll be able to close it out. -2.5 seems like a fair price to me. I'll take Marshall, even though, hey, UTEP is in Texas and they're playing in Texas. Doesn't mean that much to me. I'll take Marshall here.
Yeah, late game as well. That's 10 p.m. Eastern time. Keep an eye on all the times because obviously we got Miami kicking off the day at 12 p.m. Eastern time. That's in like less than a couple of hours. And 1 p.m. for the second game of the day, which was St. Joseph versus George Mason. So make sure if you're going to get your selections on, realise that they're very, very early starters. Okay, Manhattan, +5 against Siena. Now, call me mad if you like, Max, but Siena against Manhattan. Surely Siena crush them.
Flash, just one quick note. The first game is actually at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time in the Big Sky with Sacramento State and Weber State. That's
Max? That's an 8:30 a.m. tip-off. Is that correct?
9:30 a.m. Mountain West time.
Goodness.
Where's this? Sacramento State, Weber State. Well, I haven't even got to that one yet. That's a very early bird.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's the first game that's tips
excellent. Well, I'll get to that. Now, Siena crushing Manhattan by 5. Please tell me I'm right.
Listen, it's already up to 6.5. It opened up at 4.5. Plain and simply, this is a spot where Manhattan struggled to get 20 points against Fairfield in the first half today. If you bring any kind of that today versus Siena, well, their guard play is going to take you to the bucket. They're going to put you up, put you down. And I think that Siena's already had this happen. It's already done this to Manhattan twice. I think that this is a game where Manhattan really has to do better than they did in the February 16th game. Listen, winning against Siena at home, that's a different story. Now we're talking about March. We're talking about Jalen Pickett that came back to school for this instance, and it's to win this tournament and go to March Madness. So simply put, Manhattan doesn't stand a chance today. Siena's going to win the game. With the 6.5 points there, I'm a little less confident and chest bumping on that one, but this is a Siena spotter pass.
Yeah, and I've got Siena first half -3.5, Donnie. I'm jumping all over them.
Yeah, the game's going to be played in Atlantic City. And finally, Manhattan actually woke up yesterday. Not like they were pushed, because I did put out the tweet, and I know Max just referenced it, 19-19 in the first half. I'm like, that's exactly what you get out of Manhattan. But they pulled away. They played really good defense. And if you're Manhattan, you can get away with bully ball. You're one of the best bully ball teams in conference play, the most physically imposing team to me, especially down low. But when you take a look at what Siena does and what Manhattan doesn't do, you can't just bully Siena. Siena shoots 37% from three-point range and doesn't rely on it. So when you take a look at Manhattan as number 1 in the conference at chasing you off of the three-point line, Siena says, we'll go down low. Number 2 in the conference, shooting 52% from inside the arc. And Manhattan is a bully ball team. They foul. Siena will get to the free throw line. When you're in conference tournament play and you have a dog, you have a favorite, whatever it is, if you have a team that is abysmal from the free throw line like Manhattan is, that is torturous, because if you get into the 1-and-1s, or if you get into the N1 type plays, they can't make their free throws. Don't be surprised in this game. This Manhattan is 8 for 17 from the free throw line, and that's why you didn't cover your number. That 4.5 looks pretty sweet, since now we sit at 6.5. But this is a really good matchup for Siena. They're going to control the tempo in this game. They're going to make their free throws. They're going to be efficient on offense, where unless you're getting threes raining down like you did at the start of the second half for Manhattan, I don't think they can compete all that much in this game. 6.5 is a tough number, but I think Siena can still get that number down.
No, I agree with you, and the big thing is that I'm late to the party, so now do I take the semi-ugly bird where I could have had an absolute darling at 4.5? Oh, problems that Max has on a daily basis. Okay, Georgia Southern getting 3.5 against Georgia State, Max.
Yeah, Flash, this is like deja vu all over again. This is reminding me of this last matchup that these jamopes had against each other, and it was a spot where Georgia Southern actually ended up winning the game. So I think that when you look at Georgia Southern, it always comes down to what you're going to get from Quan Jackson. If Quan Jackson's on point offensively, he's not going to be a liability defensively, and they're getting on the glass with guys like Isaiah Crawley. Well, this Georgia Southern team definitely has this Georgia State team's number. I think that without Corey Allen, or without a productive Corey Allen, Georgia State is definitely handcuffed. But with Damon Wilson and Kane Williams, listen, you got some versatile players that have good athleticism. I think that it really doesn't suit Georgia Southern or Georgia State to really let this game get to the 80s. I think that this is a better suited game to the unders based on the quality of defense that both the teams are going to bring in a very heated rivalry. This is definitely a heated rivalry. Watching the two games definitely got chippy. I think that Georgia Southern definitely has the value at +5, and I'm looking at the under again, but I just can't tell you or anybody else to back it because this very easily could turn around and have pie all over my face.
Yes, it's a must watch. I don't mind watching them. If I think I've got a number in my head of where I want to be and I watch the first 4 or 5 minutes, sometimes there's an overreaction, and that's where I've been doing my best thing. You tell me that I have to watch and then up tempo, and sometimes when they take their foot off the gas. So maybe 4 or 5 minutes into the game, it's very telling, Donnie.
Yeah, I'm going to take the points in this game. I'll lean on Georgia Southern. I think they play a little bit better defense. It's a rivalry game. You know, it's going to come right down to the end. Who's going to make your free throws? So the only downfall will be Georgia Southern, one of the worst teams in conference play at shooting. Not like, Manhattan around the 60% range. They're at least around 67%. But I'll lean on the points in this one. I think it'll be a tough one all the way through, coin flip type game. And that's the way I'll go. Lean on defense, and then maybe they can get the outright winner, but I'll certainly take the 5 as opposed to going money line here.
Okay, so let's move from +3.5 to +5.
I think I saw it at +5, right? Yeah, it's -5 Georgia State, and the over/under is 154.5.
Wow, under 154.
Up
150,
from
both these teams got tempo, yeah.
Wow, we're loving the way that these markets are dancing around. And what about this one, Donnie? App State getting 7.5 at Texas State.
Yeah, Texas State, look, this is Flash's boys right here. Now, they're laying a decent number. We do know a lot about Texas State. They're going to play defense. They're going to lean on, obviously, their frontline guys, which Nigel Pearson staring right at you. He'll be able to get to the free throw line. They are ultra effective at knocking down, free throws. Jesus, I can't get out of my, I need some more of that monster Flash over here. But I like it that way. It seems like a little bit expensive to take them. App State in a hard-fought victory last time out in conference play. Now this tournament game shifts. I'm going to go with the home team here, Texas State. I think they put their clamps in. I think they can win this game by double digits.
Well, double digits, Max. Fancy a bit of double digits?
First off, Donnie, Texas State is my team, not Flash's team. Secondly, Nigel Pearson is like, these App State sucker-luckers decided to take advantage of my boys when I was witnessing my child being born. So I'm going to come back strong like the superstar of the Sun Belt I am, and I'm going to crown them. That's the cleanest way that I can say that Texas State is going to bombard App State with quality offense, quality perimeter defense, and unless Justin Forrest is going to be able to go off and be able to get off more than 10 shots, unlike he was able to against Coastal Carolina, well, Texas State is going to be romping tonight. The bottom line is, when you look at this Texas State team, they have all the elements to make a run and win this tournament outright, and it's Bobcat time. Simple as that. Let's go.
So, play of the day is App State plus 7.5, Max.
Then I hope that you
lose all your money.
Yeah, and the men in white coats come and pick me up. Okay.
I had to be careful what I said.
Yeah, that's good. Where's your apple Danish? Have we got an apple Danish this morning, Max, or is it too early?
No. I haven't even ate anything yet. All I've had was this apple juice, and I've added and created the ass groove in this chair.
Well, that's okay.
I have not had anything, and I'm a little cranky about it. So let's.
Yeah, you look as if you've lost a bit of weight. You look well, Max.
Yeah, no, you're not seeing my waistline, so thank God for that.
Okay, listen, I've seen it worse. Let's put it that way. Iona plus 1.5 against St. Peter's, Max.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good matchup. I think that it's going to be a real testament of what St. Peter's is going to be able to do all year long, and that is use their depth to their advantage. I think in question how effective it's going to be versus Iona tonight. Iona with Tajon Agee, I think that he's the key. The dude averages double digits, close to 15 points a game. He needs to stay on the floor. He needs to control his temper. But the reality is, what has Iona done in this conference tournament year in, year out, regardless of who's wearing the jersey? If that's win games in it. And I think that this is a spot where I'm going to have trouble getting on St. Peter's. I have to still do a little bit of research in this game. This is St. Peter's team that won both games, but easily could have been the other way around. I think that whoever wins on the glass is going to win this game. I think that you have to limit Iona's attempts from the field. If you're allowing them to get 60 to 65 looks from the field, well, that means that you're down points and your defense is just not doing a good job. Luckily enough for this matchup, St. Peter's going to be able to throw a multitude of different rotations at you and mix up their looks with different combinations. I think that's going to come down to Estrada, Eddard, and Banks, your three scoring guards. If you can get good performances out of 2 out of 3 of them, you're going to win this game. If not, Iona's moving on like they're used to.
What about a total, Max?
Only looking at the over, but seeing the number move down to 133 or 133.5, maybe holding out for a better number.
Okay, but you're happy with 133.5 if that's the worst it gets?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's good enough. Donnie, 133.5 going over. Anything on the side?
Yeah, it's a really good game. And I have to say, if you're Iona, this is exactly, if you're going to play St. Peter's at any time, this is the time that you're going to want to play them, because you got your feel for the floor last night picking up a 10-point win over Canisius. You're not that deep a team, so you're not playing in like your 4th straight day to try to knock off a St. Peter's team that's going to bring defense. And also keep in mind, this game is played in Atlantic City. These kids are used to East Coast time. This game is a tip for 9:30, but it is the late game. So you know if anything, a little bit of shenanigans goes on that earlier time slot, this game gets pushed back to 9:45, 9:50. So you got St. Peter's not playing yet, waiting around all day. So if you're looking for that sneak attack advantage, Iona's been there, done that in Atlantic City, and St. Peter's is going to wait an extremely long time just to play their first game. But I still do like St. Peter's. St. Peter's is deep. I've liked them all year long, even rooting for them, obviously, right up until the end, and maybe to get a share of the regular season title, which Siena was able to clinch in that win over Monmouth. They did hit that 3 late by Matthew Lee, 68-65, which broke my heart because I was rooting for overtime and a team total for St. Peter's. But I win with St. Peter's all season long in this conference. I'm going to stick with them, but it is a pretty good shot for Iona. This is the time you want to match up, and if they can get hot Iona, Max is right. Time and time again, this team always makes runs in the Metro Atlantic tournament, but I think this is St. Peter's time. They have the better defense. I think they'll get some timely scoring and win this game, but I do like the over in this game. I think both of these teams, again, like they did previous, 68-65, they'll both be in the 60s, which will give you a shot at that total, and I think it gets there.
Yeah, and I also think if they get off to a flying start, you can probably go, say, under 139, 140 and get a 6 to 7 point middle. Okay, last 5 games. Idaho plus 12 against Southern Utah, Max.
Yeah, this is a spot where definitely I like the over. I think that with Trevon Allen, this is an Idaho team that, listen, you really got to frickin' plug your nose and take the plunge if you're jumping on this over. 45 and 55 points is how Idaho has scored against Southern Utah. But this is Southern Utah that just summons their frickin' inner 3-point accuracy shot maker, and then they're just frickin' bombing away. I think that when you look at Cameron Ulatani and guys like Dre Marin and Akko Adams, these guys are definitely going to be the difference maker for Southern Utah tonight. These guys have good size. They can guard. They can force turnovers, get out in transition, and get to the rim. They're not completely 3-point reliant because they were struggling big time. I think that it really comes down to what you can get from a guy like Dwayne Morgan. If Dwayne Morgan is going to give you a double-double tonight, he's going to be able to really get to the free throw line, command some fouls, get into the bonus. And with Trevon Allen, this is a guy that averages 21 points per game. So he's going to go off regardless. He's going to take shots. He's going to drive to the bucket. He's going to hoist up threes. He's coming off a 33-point game. I have to expect the third time's going to be the charm with this Idaho team. They're going to be able to get to 62 to 65 points. Southern Utah's going to do the rest, and we're going to be able to cash this over 136.
Over 136. That's a massive middle number. I hate them numbers. But if we're going over, Donnie.
Yeah, looking at Southern Utah, if you take a look at the team total side on this one, keep in mind this is a 2 p.m. Eastern time tip. I think Southern Utah should be able to score in this game, and I think Southern Utah's defense should be able to force some turnovers and get some easy looks. Over 74 would be my look because, again, when you take a look at a team, not over your line, as Max said, on three-pointers, Southern Utah shoots about 30% of their total shots from three, but then you see the effectiveness down low. 54% of their points come from inside the arc, and then also second in conference at getting to the free throw line and knocking down free throws. They're a huge side in this game. Open up at 11.5, now sitting at 12.5. They should win comfortably here, and they're going to lean on their offense. I think they get into the mid-70s with a decent shot at looking at that hitting that team total here, Flash.
Okay, Donnie. Idaho State getting 4 when I did the numbers against Northern Arizona.
Yeah, I don't want to stray on this one. I didn't spend too much time on this game. I'll lean on Max here.
Okay, let's lean on Max.
Yeah, I actually like this game. I think that this is a great setup spot for Northern Arizona to fix what the hell's been going on with them. And they've been slurping cock soup. They've been slumping as of late. It's been disgusting. This is a team that at the beginning of the year, I was like, these bums, all they've done is lose together and lose together and lose together. Well, they've been cashing tickets for me, and then they went into this slump. Well, I think that you got the perfect recipe to get right. Idaho State. What does Idaho State let you do? They allow you to score goddamn points. You're going to get to 75, hopefully, in your goddamn sleep. I think that Northern Arizona, with the combination of a dominant big man in Brooks the Bishop, with Shelton, with Satterwhite, these guys are going to be able to score the basketball. Hopefully, cross my fingers and hope to die against this Idaho State Bengal team. And as long as Chief Maker is able to do some scoring for Idaho State, I think that we're going to be able to get over this 144. And I look at Northern Arizona to get right at -4 in the situation.
Yeah, we like the -4, but we don't like the cross your heart and hope to die. If you're going to die, you have to do it in mid-April, but then we'll have to resurrect you in maybe November time and make sure you come back strong, Max, strong. Delaware State getting 9 against NC Central, Max.
Yeah, this is a spot where Delaware State definitely has been showing an ability to score the basketball. The way that they were able to come back versus Maryland Eastern Shore and then really shore up that game and stop potential freaking comeback from Eastern Shore at the end was very nice to see. I think that when you have John Crosby and you have the combination of a zone defense and pressure defense that you can run, I think it's going to come in handy versus NC Central. This is a spot, though, where I think that NC Central is going to roll. I think that NC Central understands that this is a team now with Ty Graves and Evan Claiborne being able to contribute. I think that it takes away some of the pressure on Jabari Blunt. And if he gets into foul trouble, you know that there are people that can score the basketball. I think that NC Central is definitely going to win this game. I think that this is a number where you could probably take them up until about 11.5. So if you're looking to jump on them, you still have time. But I like NC Central in this spot.
Well, no, you certainly like them, giving up 9 against Delaware State, who did well last night, Donnie.
Flash, this is the American court system that we do use here. This is a MEAC game, so I can certainly use this to my advantage. Plead the fifth, Flash.
Yep. Next, here we go. The boys in the chat have been very patient waiting for this one. And it's Boston University getting 7 against Colgate, Max.
Yeah, this is a spot where I got to look at the under. I got to look at Boston University having to really lock down the three-point line versus very potent Colgate three-point shooting offense. Boston University also does a good job of guarding without fouling, and they're going to have to do that in this matchup versus Colgate tonight. I think that with Colgate having it on their home floor, there is going to be some pressure on them, and we had seen them coming out like bonkers in first halves, averaging close to 40 points. I think that Boston University is definitely going to be a combination of having to pressure, help defend, and really limit any kind of three-point looks. The fact is, with Ivanauskas and Will Raymond, you have some size that can take it out to the three-point line. But I think that when you have the athleticism of Walter Voigt and Javonte McCoy, it's really going to be on them to have their ball in their hands, use the shot clock well, run the offense in the half court, and when you're able to force turnovers, really limit this transition. Colgate is a team that takes very good care of the ball. They have good ball distribution. You have to disrupt that. You have to limit them on the offensive glass. If you're able to do that, Boston University has an opportunity to win this game. But at 7, this is a spot where I look to make a play live. The under is a play I'm already on. That's where I think that this game's going to go. I think that this game's going to be an under situation where both teams struggle to score the basketball against each other.
Yeah, well, you keep going on about all these unders. I want a number.
Oh, I got 140, but like Flash, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I can't really have much sympathy for you.
Well, do I follow you on Twitter? Do I follow you? Do I follow you?
You do, but you never liked it. You didn't know that I freaking bet that number.
What number was it?
So, 140.
And what is it now?
I don't know, because I don't give a crap anymore.
Pull the ladder up, Donnie. Pull the ladder up. He can't
140.
wait. 140.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's where it is.
Thank you, Max. Donnie, where are we at?
Yeah, they've had Boston University and Colgate. I mean, Colgate's handled them twice. But, Flash, sometimes we lean on your moniker here at this time. This is the championship game. Do you think they care if they win this game by 24 points, 28 points, 40 points, that it's going to improve their seeding in March Madness? They'd be just fine, Flash, for pulling out a late free throw with about 3 to 4 seconds to go and winning by 4 points in this one. That's the way I'll lean. This isn't a cap where we're saying, like, you know what, if we just look at the 2 games and how dominant Colgate, they're a fantastic team. They're going to win this game. But there's something about being in the championship environment one more time around where maybe you don't have to push the ball here. Maybe you get that 5-point lead late in the game, and instead of saying, you know what, I got a 2-on-1 fast break, I'm just going to sit back here and let this ride. Give me the points. I'll lean on the 7.5, which is out there at some outlets.
Yeah, and the under 140 then definitely comes into play because you know what they're going to do? The old boa constrictor. They'll squeeze the life out of Boston, and they're not going to be going for your 3s and your 2s. They'll kill the clock. They'll use 95% of the shot clock. So I'm over the moon to be going anywhere near under 140. I might wait and just see if I can get a little under 141, just so that I'm a little bit better than Yoda. Last game of the day, and remember, you've got about 60 minutes before tip-off on this one. Sacramento State -4 against Weber State, and these boys were up just as early as us, Donnie.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. We're playing at 9:30 in the a.m. in a conference tournament game. Is there any surprise that Pinnacle and Chris opened up offshore Flash at 129, and now we're seeing 127s and 126.5s? I'm not so sure that maybe a couple players might oversleep and not even be ready for the tip. 9:30? Are we shooting around at 7 a.m.? Are we waking up at 5 a.m.? You got to be kidding me. Give me the under in this game just because of the ridiculousness.
Max, under for the sleepy players.
Yeah, I'm already on the under. I'm already on Weber State. Plain simply, when you have Jarek Harding and Cody John, those are the guys that I can trust to make shots in a tournament scenario. Single game elimination. This is a Weber State team that definitely got handled by Sacramento State at home, but this is a different team on the road. I don't trust them on the road. I don't like the number. I think that it should have been more in the pick'em range. I took Weber State +4. I took the under 129, and a fantastic capper on Twitter, E-Money NCAA picks. He's on the first half under 59.5, and I'm going to be looking to get on that as well and tail him on that.
Excellent. Any player of the days for you, Donnie?
Yeah, you know what? Let's go with the team total. Let's cheer it on here. We're going to go down to Texas. That's rotation 677, 678. Rice and Florida International. I think you'll get some tempo in this game. I think you get one of the more exciting games in the conference tournament play today. Instead of going with the total for the game, I'm going to go FIU over 78. I think FIU can get into the 80s versus Rice. I think it'll be a close game, so you can get that explosion over the last 2 minutes. Let's cheer on some points. Let's go. FIU over 78.
Okay, what about you, Max? Yeah, what are we, lip readers?
I'm going with the parlay once again because I want to spare you guys my nose whistle and my heavy breathing. But regardless, I'm going to take NC State and Minnesota in a money line parlay at -117. That's going to be my play of the day. And if you don't like it, I don't really give a shit.
So that was NC State and who in a parlay?
Minnesota -117, good sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, and that's a money line parlay. Happy days. I've gone with Siena -3.5 first half, and FIU -2, and Oklahoma State -3.5 first half. Plenty worms, gentlemen. Feast. Max, you look a bit pale. Go and get some food. Make sure you have a nice worm Danish. See you tomorrow. Click the thumbs up on the way out, please, gentlemen. And if you haven't subscribed, press the button, ring the bell, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.